Well, in the first two phases of the Lok Sabha elections that have now been completed, 5 more to go, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, meanwhile, has set the poll agenda and has answered on many of the burning mid-poll topics in an exclusive interview to the Times of India. Now, in this interview, the Prime Minister has specifically answered on perhaps the headline topic in the conversation right now, and that is the Congress's promise of redistributing wealth. Thus far, there seems to have been precious little coming from the Congress by way of explanation as to how they plan to do it. The tools cited have included things like wealth tax and inheritance tax, as mentioned by their leader Sam Pitroda in his controversial remarks. The Prime Minister has torn these to shreds. He says that they are not solutions, rather problems disguised as solutions. He asks the people if they work hard eventually, if the government redistributes their wealth, what happens then? The Prime Minister says that this would kill the startup revolution and will benefit only the opposition's vote bank. He says that the solutions would cause complete and irreversible communal disharmony. Now, let's also talk about the course of this interview, where the Prime Minister has also answered the charge where he was polarizing the discourse, to which he replied that he's doing this to show and expose the Congress violating the Constitution to give reservation based on religion. But on the matter of wealth redistribution, he's opened another front. Prime Minister Modi says that the Constitution protects the property of all minorities. Thereby, he says that constitutionally, the Congress cannot redistribute the Waqf property. As it cannot touch the minorities' properties, it is eyeing the properties of other communities when it comes to the wealth redistribution. The Prime Minister has also picked apart what Rahul Gandhi has proposed on the conducting wealth survey or an X-ray. This, as per the Prime Minister, is a Maoist ideology and thinking, saying that it is a recipe for disaster. Let me go across to Tushar now. Tushar Gupta is joining us live right now. Tushar, good morning. What is your analysis reading into the Prime Minister's point-by-point rebuttal? Of course, this has been a complete change in the sense that he's taking on the opposition, in particular the Congress, right after the first phase of polling.
Good morning, Amita. Always happy to be on your show. Look, the Congress's Archie's heel is on page 28, point number 21 of the manifesto, where they say that they are going to devise suitable policies for equitable distribution of income and wealth. Why is the Congress talking about wealth? The Congress in its manifesto also talks about protecting the laws of the minorities. So clearly, there is a certain bias that they are harboring against the majority community of India, and the Prime Minister is pointing that out very correctly. Forget the manifesto even. Look at what Rahul Gandhi has been going around town saying. He's saying that he needs to do an X-ray of the country. It's his life's mission to do an X-ray of the caste and the subcaste, and then there should be a socio-economic mapping. And in the Congress manifesto, first chapter, first point, it says that then it will be followed by affirmative action. What does that affirmative action mean? So when the Prime Minister is cautioning people against Congress's ideas of wealth redistribution or inheritance tax that we were debating last week, I think the Prime Minister should be heard by one and all, because at the end of the day, the government has all the right to make policies, any kind of policies as they see fit for the country. But no government anywhere in the world has the right to come for your property, your wealth, your hard-earned money, because they want to sponsor their generous freebies for a certain section of the population.
Well, absolutely. And sir, what do you have to say about the Prime Minister's comments specifically when it comes to the wealth and properties of minorities? Because in this exclusive interview to Times of India, the Prime Minister basically has not only hit out at the opposition, Rahul Gandhi, over his X-ray remarks, but also said that Congress can't touch the properties of minorities going by the Constitution and the law. That means other communities would be at a disadvantage. How do you respond and react to that, sir?
Well, absolutely. Look, the Congress itself in their manifesto are saying that they'll protect the minorities, they'll protect their laws, their private laws. And Congress itself, their former prime ministers, Dr. Manmohan Singh, for instance, in December 2006, said that Muslims, minorities rather, particularly the Muslims, have the first right on India's resources. Now, when you hear such speech from a former Congress Prime Minister, then you listen to the Prime Minister or the aspirant Prime Minister from the Congress, you need to connect the dots. You look at their manifesto, nowhere does it say that their idea of wealth redistribution or inheritance tax will be applicable to all the communities. They leave it very ambiguous, but they are very specific when it comes to saying that we'll protect the laws of the minorities. So one has to really ask that if you're favoring the minorities, if your former prime ministers are talking about favoring the minorities, having them have the first right in resources, and then you are saying that you need an X-ray of the caste and subcaste. It's like dividing the country on the basis of religion to divide the people's wealth to cater to your convenient vote bank. And that is what the Prime Minister has been talking about.
Right, and so this discussing, of course, point by point what the Prime Minister had to say in this exclusive interview. You very briefly touched upon that X-ray comment of Rahul Gandhi, because Prime Minister has now called it a reflection of Maoist ideology, sir.
Well, absolutely. Look, before 2014, all these secular parties in India, be it the national parties or the regional parties, had a simple formula for winning elections. You consolidate the minority and you divide the majority. That is why all you saw until 2014 was caste-based politics across the Hindi belt, across the western states, across even south of India. Now, post-2014, when the Labharthi narrative has taken over, when people are more concerned about basic necessities that they were promised for the 60 years of the Congress, but never delivered, and they've been given that after 2014, what people on the ground now realize is that a tap water doesn't warrant a caste discussion. A toilet doesn't warrant a caste discussion. A house built under Awas Yojana, a roof for your children, for your elderlies, doesn't warrant a caste discussion. So post-2014, the narrative has shifted from a divided majority, consolidated minority, to a consolidated majority, the Labharthi voter, and a divided minority, because all the secular parties now, from the Congress to the OACs, they all are trying for that one minority bloc vote, and that is not really working for them. So that is why this is the main motivation behind Rahul Gandhi's caste census. He wants to divide the Hindus on the lines of caste, then he'll divide their wealth, and then he'll divide the country.
Right, but just to play the devil's advocate here, sir, the opposition, I'm sure you are aware of how they have been attacking the Prime Minister, the BJP, saying that these comments and specific charges as far as their manifesto is concerned are alarmist. They are made to, to create a divide amidst people, to help BJP as far as their electoral performance is concerned. How do you react to these allegations and attacks coming in from the side of opposition, sir?
Look, the opposition is the one which was helping the BJP the most for the last 10 years by projecting Rahul Gandhi as the prime ministerial candidate, on a lighter note. But again, page number 28, point number 21 of the Congress manifesto. I urge all the viewers of Times Now to go right now on the Congress website and read the manifesto. And what it says on page number 28, point number 21, the Congress is indeed talking about wealth. If you're not convinced, go to page 7, first chapter, equity, point number 1. He says that after the caste census, after the mapping all the subcaste, there'll be a socio-economic charting of the conditions across India, and then there'll be time for affirmative action. Now, if I tell you there will be affirmative action, you don't know what that means. It's very ambiguous. So they're talking about suitable change in policies. They're talking about affirmative action. They're talking about protecting the minority laws. So what charges is the opposition really making? And beyond their manifesto also, Rahul Gandhi has been making these comments for 6 months now. It's not restricted to this Lok Sabha election. What was he doing in November 2023 when the state assembly elections were due in 4 states or other 5 states? He said, "Jitni abadi utna hak." Aap iska matlab kya hai? So Rahul Gandhi has been taking this message to the country for 6 months now, which is a long period of time. We've crossed 1 state assembly election. So the opposition may want to play this escape game here. Now the people are responding so strongly to their thoughts about wealth redistribution or inheritance tax. But the cat is out of the bag now. The Pandora's box has been opened for the Congress, and now the people are asking them some tough questions.
Pandora's box open for the Congress party. That's the charge coming in from the political analyst, Tushar Gupta on our show. Sir, stay with us. We are also taking our viewers through some excerpts of this interview. So viewers, as we were telling you earlier, this is a mega exclusive. It's as big as it gets. Times of India has got the interview of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and we are showing some of the highlights from that interview to the English Daily. So what did the Prime Minister say? Excerpts from PM's interview to TOI when we speak of the so-called surgical strike which the Prime Minister has done on the wealth distribution plan of the Congress party. The PM says in this interview, and I quote directly, quote, "Constitution protects property of all the minorities," unquote. Says constitutionally Congress can't touch properties of minorities. And then the Prime Minister goes on to say that constitutionally, just underlining the Constitution, that Congress cannot redistribute Waqf property. They cannot touch the properties of the minority community. So what does this mean? mean? Prime Minister says, quote unquote, as it can't touch minorities or their properties, it's going to eye the property of other communities. This is what the Prime Minister had to say on the redistribution promise of Rahul Gandhi of the Congress party, attack on the manifesto, saying that they can't touch minorities' property. So end of the day, what's going to happen is that they're going to eye the properties of other communities. Of course, a major slugfest, as one would expect, has already begun on this explosive interview. Tushar Gupta is live with us. Tushar Gupta, what do you have to say about the statements which I just read out? The Prime Minister feels, and he's citing the Constitution, saying that if the opposition, the Congress party, can't touch the properties of minorities going by the Constitution, then it will end up eyeing the properties of other communities.
Well, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. The Constitution gives certain rights to the property of the minorities, and Rahul Gandhi can't touch it. And above that, in their manifesto alone, they're talking about more freedom for the minorities when it comes to the private rights. The Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh, had spoken about it. We've discussed this. So at the end of the day, the people are going to ask that your former PM is speaking like this, you are speaking like this, and yet then you expect us to believe that the property of the Muslims or any other minority community will be touched? No, people don't buy that. My simple litmus test, very simple litmus test for Rahul Gandhi or for the Congress, can they go and say that the Waqf land will also constitute the surplus land which will be redistributed? Because in the Congress manifesto, it says that the land surplus above the Land Ceiling Act would be looked upon by the government for redistribution. Now, can Rahul Gandhi say that this will also apply to the land owned by the Waqf board? Can he say that? It's been 6 months since he's been on the election trail. He's not said that. They've put it in their manifesto about the land surplus. So my question is, can Rahul Gandhi go to a farmer in Punjab, a large land-holding farmer in Punjab?
Is this appeasement politics by the Congress party? Is this alarmism by the BJP? That war of words has already begun. Tushar Gupta, thank you for joining us with your views on the broadcast.